Okay, good morning. So we're back to our book, Rav Shalom Arush, Garden of Shalom, Garden of Peace. And we said that what so far? That number one, a woman is a mirror image of the husband. Mirror image. When he has zichut to be a person who can have a mirror image. When Hashem knows that the person is not going to listen, he doesn't, she's not a mirror image. And whatever she's like, she's like. She could be good, she could be bad, she could be whatever.
She's frustrated.
She could be frustrated, whatever it is, yeah? But when a person has the merit, what happens? He has the zechut to see his sometimes minor characteristic traits that are overblown in her, so that Hashem's like telling you, hello, this is you, right? Or regular. She's regular. Your regular characteristics, she portrays it to you. That's number one. Number two, we said that a woman cannot take any comments at all. Her nature is not to accept any comments. He says that's how he built her. You hear? And you cannot change that nature. One of the examples that we brought, we said what? Can we change the nature of a lion? We cannot change the nature of a lion. Lion, he's a killer. He wants to eat, he kills and eats. We can't make him a docile kitty cat, right? Once his nature is the way it is. Okay, so therefore he says, no comments to the wife, not even positive comments. Yeah, because she's just not going to understand that. She doesn't understand it. Good. Yeah, not meaning positive comments. Yeah, like you want to say, you know, sweetie, I think it's a good idea if you do it like this. It's a positive thing. You want to make it better. You want her to be more productive, correct? She doesn't look at it as a productive comment. She looks at it as a comment that is critical. Huh? Exactly. What, you don't think the way I'm doing is the right way to do? You hear? So he says, remarks are degrading. In a wife's eyes, not only criticism, but the slightest delicate, uncomplimentary remarks, even said with the purest of motives, are premeditated affronts to her dignity. You hear what he's saying? He's saying, this is, you want to say something, it's not that you're saying, oh, you're so beautiful, these, that. No. You're saying something to, very delicately, right? To give her, in her eyes, you know what premeditated murder is? Murder one is premeditated. He sat there, he said, how should I kill him? This, that. He says, this is a premeditated affront to her dignity. Kabuto, you sat there, how should I put it down? You know, meaning that's how she looks at it. Yeah? And by the way, we're talking for experience. You know, that she is insulted, angered, and unforgiving. Certain.
Example.
Yeah.
Okay? The example is you're telling her a compliment, you know, your food is very good today. Right away you say, so yesterday was not good.
You see, even something like that. Today, so yesterday was no good. Yeah? Immediately she transfers what? That you don't even love her. Meaning from a small thing, it's what? You don't love her. Yeah? If he truly loved her, why would he even try to find fault in her at all? Meaning, if you really love me, anything that I do for you, it should be good. Imagine, we talked about animals right now, right? Imagine your favorite pet, let's say a dog. Whatever that dog does, you love it. He'll poop in the thing. You're like, such a cute guy. He'll this. You'll never. Meaning, so he's saying, if you love me, none of this is even going to look like it's bad. He says, the famed Kabbalist, Rabbi Avraham Azulai, paraphrased the Mishnah in Tractate Avot and said like this, don't look at a person during his hour of failure or weakness, for then that person hides so no one will see him. And when you discover his failure, he'll think that you take joy in his misery. You hear? You hear what he's saying? He's saying that she will think that the fact that we're positively commenting on something that maybe she needs help with is that we're basking in her misery, in the fact that she's at fault. You hear what I'm saying? Meaning they completely take it to the wrong section. If a husband was sensitive, he'd feel just how insulting and degrading remarks and criticisms are to a wife, even when said with the utmost kindness and with the most positive intent. If he knew how sharply his remarks pierce her heart, he wouldn't say them. Basically, the only thing you could say, wow, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful, wow, the food, delicious.
Don't say today.
I've never, you know, you have to be like a a very intelligent individual thinking 2 times, 3 times of what you're going to say, because you have to paraphrase the things in such a way that you have to now be a critical, thinker.
So any relationship that compares to how you talk to your wife, how you talk to your parents, also the same way?
Absolutely. It starts from the house. You said a very good thing. Last night when we were at class, there were a couple of guys that are still living at home, and we were discussing this thing, and they said, yeah, well, why does my mother talk like that to me? I said, and other guy said, did you get up in the morning? Did you pray? Did you this? Did you that? Yeah? And he says, because you didn't do this, mom comes out and lashes at you in a certain way. That's why the more you show respect to parents, and you show respect to brothers, sisters, right? The more you're going to be more comfortable to respecting in the house with the wife. Right? Don't think that at home you could be a tyrant. No, but when I'm going to get home to my wife, no, you're going to be exactly the same way. He says, one who criticizes is arrogant. Why? The truth is that husbands who criticize aren't gentle and well-meaning in doing so. He says, many have a drive to constantly remark, comment, criticize, complain, and find faults in those close to them. This drive stems from arrogance, cruelty, and an utter lack of self-control. Unfortunately, one of the major things that we're lacking is honesty with ourselves. That's one of the major things. We think we're very good. We think we're not angry people. We're not cruel people. We're not arrogant people. You hear? And one of the things we have to be is true to ourselves. And we've discussed this many times over here. That you have to be true to yourself. At least to yourself. Yeah? Go privately and say, what was your first name again? Huh? David. David, you're not a good guy because you're lazy. You this, you that. Why? So that at least you know what to work on. But if we constantly mask the fact that we're good, you're not going to improve yourself. So he says, we do this to the wife because we're arrogant, we're cruel, and we don't have self-control. He says, a husband must therefore ask himself where his comments and criticisms are coming from. If he's honest with himself, he'll discover that his compulsive drive to make comments and criticize all the time is a sign of his own arrogance, character flaw, cruelty, and that he needs to work on. You hear? So many of these things that we're saying to her is actually coming from the fact of the way we are. You hear? Many people have a tendency to tear themselves down. Women especially. Women often feel that they're not doing enough, that they're not good enough, that they're not satisfying their husbands. A criticizing husband adds fuel to the fire of self-persecution and low self-image. Meaning he says the woman is already not there. She's thinking, I'm not doing enough, no self-confidence. So imagine if you're throwing a little bit of these comments, again, these are all, he's talking about nice comments. Forget about the bad comments. The bad comments says that's it. You just completely killed her. Yeah? He's talking about nice comments. You hear? He says, therefore, you're fueling her non-self-confidence, non-ability to be the perfect wife, says, such a husband justifies and reinforces a wife's negative feelings about herself. In extreme cases, his remarks and criticisms put her right on the psychiatric sofa, heaven forbid. She becomes démonée. Says you could lead her to the point that you could really mentally affect her. You hear? He says, a pedantic husband can't have marital peace. What does pedantic husband mean?
Everything, it has to be like this.
Like
this.
Pedant, that's what it is? Our sages teach that a pedant can teach. Therefore, a husband won't be able to affect the change in his wife by way of comments and criticisms. You think you're going to make her better by saying, no, do it like this. No, do it like that. Do it like this. He says, impossible. He says, a person that reprimands his wife will almost surely fall into the traps of several outright Torah transgressions, such as anger, humiliating one's fellow man, causing anguish to one's fellow man. Ironically, a husband that chastises his wife for doing a minor misdeed ends up committing major transgressions, upsetting the peace at home, and chasing away the divine presence from the midst. What's worse? Her minor misdeeds or his major transgressions. He says, a small thing turns into a humongous thing. You ended up, defaming her, maybe even cursing, and then pushing away Hashem from the house. So he goes, what did you do by complaining about this little thing? You just caused a major transgression upon yourself. So he says, what's better? A small thing that she did wrong, or a major thing that you're right now gonna do? You know, defaming another person, ruining the shalom bayit, not being an angry person, screaming, chas v'shalom. Oi, he says, the old adage says that people who live in a glass house shouldn't throw stones. He says a husband should know that the minute he criticizes his wife, he's exposing himself to criticism. Meaning, when you want to say something, she already gonna lash out at you. Why? She has to protect herself. She has to protect her dignity. So therefore, by you telling her, sweetie, like this, she's gonna tend to, oh yeah, you like this, you like that, you like this, you like that. Like, whoa, 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 where are you coming from? Where are you from? All I said is the stove should be like this, like that. You know, you should clean the stove right away after you cook. This way it doesn't cake out over there. I'm trying to help you. You're trying to help me.
I'm gonna show you.
And she just starts throwing things that are like left field, right field, outfield, you know, and you're like, what? All I said is that when there's one plate, it's better to wash the plate. Why? Because one plate becomes 3 plate becomes 7 plate becomes 15, and the whole sink is like that. But if you clean the one plate right away, don't tell me what to do, yeah? And then she'll tell you, well, you were trying to be helpful, yeah? He says, everything we said until now applies to a situation when a husband comments or criticizes after the fact. But if he sees that his wife might make a mistake or commit a misdeed, he can guide her gently before she does something wrong. There's a world of difference between guidance and criticism. You hear what he says? He says, what's criticism? Meaning, it's something that it already happened and now you're commenting. For instance, there's no salt in the food, right? She did the laundry and it's all crumpled up. She did it. He goes, that, worthless. Why? Because it's already after the fact. What are you going to now achieve by giving her something, telling her right now? He goes, however, if it becomes before and you see the mistake, you see that it's going to come to a mistake. Now, I don't know how, maybe he'll explain to us how to do it, right? He says, when you, after the fact, no point of you saying anything. But in the beginning, if you see it's going it's done already, yeah. He says, however, if you know that something is going to be, let's say the salt is not going to be enough, whatever, he says that you can gently, guide her. How to do that? I don't know. Hopefully he'll explain to us, because that also sometimes, what are you butting into my kitchen affairs for? You hear what I'm saying? So you have to be a little bit of a scientist. How will she change? He says one of the arguments that the Yetzer Hara says he uses to incite a husband to comment and criticize is that the criticism is for her ultimate spiritual and material benefit. Here, the Yetzer Hara says, why is she wearing a skirt like that? You tell her. Why? Because at the end of the day, she's going to be tzaddiket when she starts wearing longer skirts and more tzniut things. You hear? So he incites, the Yetzer Hara incites you. Because the Yetzer Hara hides in the thoughts and says, nobody's perfect. People want to improve. They want to make progress in life. How's my wife going to get ahead if I don't help her? She should be grateful for my comments and criticisms. If I really love her, how can I ignore the damage she's doing to herself with all these mistakes? How will she ever change if I don't help her? Right? That's the Yetzer Hara in our brains saying, listen, she needs help. Yeah, I care for her. Yeah, and you know what? Genuinely, it does come from there.
If I'm not going to tell her, who's going to tell her?
Or before we dismantle the Yetzer mental landmines, let's see what happens inside a woman's heart when her husband criticizes her. He says, the moment the husband makes a remark about something his wife does, no matter how gentle or justified, even more so if the remarks are unfair and brutal, her heart withers and her soul darkens. She sees herself as nothing, zero, worthless, unsuccessful. She loses all will to improve. I don't want, again, she doesn't say this, right? But it becomes one of those things. It says all she has left is her need to survive. And therefore, how's she going to survive? She needs to push back instead, and she needs to attack you. Therefore, like a threatened and wounded she-wolf, she tries to salvage what's left of her dignity by holding ground and justifying herself, even if it goes against all logic. At such times, she exposes her fangs. And this is a bomb. Why? Sometimes you get into a situation where you were trying to help, right? Like he says, right? And all of a sudden, because of the fact that now she feels like she's a wounded wolf, yeah, she starts telling you things illogical completely. Yeah. And you're thinking,
wow, what's going on? How did we come there?
Where's that coming from? Are you listening to yourself? But guess what? He says she doesn't care. Yeah, why? Right now she's defending her dignity, and she'll just throw things at you that don't make sense, that are irrational, that just completely. Why? I need to survive. Meaning this is a survival mechanism of a woman who's defending herself. You hear? So therefore, what did you cause? Your statement might have been parv. It might have been, in fact, beneficial. But because they don't understand that, because he says that's how Hashem created them, they are now gonna be completely irrational. He says, for a woman to admit a mistake or shortcoming is worse than death. She'll therefore do anything to protect her dignity, which is like oxygen. It's a source of her vitality. Taking away her dignity is consequently tantamount to threatening her life. You hear? He says, the husband thinks that his wife is the only woman in the world that is so sensitive or critical to criticism, correct? At least I think that way. You think that way? He thinks that way? He says to himself, what kind of woman is this that denies the truth? I'm telling her the truth. Well, you don't understand what I'm telling you, but I'm telling you the truth. Yeah? He says, she never in her life apologized for a mistake. Zero. I never heard a sorry. Wow. Look, I thought that he was writing this book for my wife, but apparently, he says, the husband becomes heartbroken. He doesn't realize that every woman is just like his wife and can't admit to faults, even if she wanted to. She wants to say, I'm sorry, but she cannot. Wow. It doesn't come out of her mouth. Wow. Yeah? He says, when he sees that she cannot admit to the truth or accept the constructive criticism, you know what he says? He's simultaneously sad and angered. Now he disdains her lack of integrity, and he accuses her. What kind of an arrogant woman are you? Why? Because I don't understand. The standard, okay, at least apologize.
No.
She cannot. No. And because she cannot, she wants to, she cannot, he's thinking, what an arrogant woman this was. I don't understand. What? The guts she has to even talk to me like that? Where is she coming from? I don't understand. Who is she? Who does she think? Who does she think he is? You hear? He says, huh? Yeah. 100%. Kids, not kids. He's right. Uzi in the hands.
The first thing is your parents.
Listen. Listen to what he says. He says, a husband especially disdains his wife's visible mistakes, which the Yetzer Hara is all too ready to amplify. The visible mistakes, Yetzer Hara, look at her. Oh, look at her. Oh, but yeah. He says he can't understand why she can't admit that the food is burned. The whole chicken smells like charcoal. How many times is that? Motek, I don't know, but what is that? Everything is fine. Look, I'm eating. Everything is good. Why? You can't eat? Wow, delicious. Sladky, what's wrong? It's your taste. It's your mouth. I think the dentist did something to you. Yeah? He says he can't understand. The whole chicken smells like charcoal. The more he tries to explain to her that the casserole should have been baked only 45 minutes and not 2 hours, the more she fights to the death to defend herself. No? You don't know what you're talking about.
The more he talks,
the more he gets himself, the deeper. Yeah, it's crazy. It's mamish crazy. By the way, talking from experience. So you can't just say, no, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is experience of over 200, 300 years over here.
I'm going to buy 5 boxes of tape and every day.
Oh, very good, Maladez. He says now, the husband has more complaints against his wife, and the vicious downward spiral continues. The more he complains and disdains, the more he destroys her and invokes her anger and irrational reactions. The more he humiliates and tramples her, the more she chokes. Her heart fills with hatred, despair, and she despises her husband like she despises a person that attempts to kill her or rip her heart out. You hear? He says, a husband that doesn't understand a woman's sensitivity to remarks and criticisms considers her reactions to be an expression of devonigi. She's insane. Yo, she's whacked. I'm sorry. Rabbi, she needs mental institution. That's what he thinks. What did I say? I didn't even intend to criticize her. The husband says, why is she reacting so violently? Ibi says, has she lost control? He's saying, what's wrong with her? He doesn't realize that one doesn't need to curse or to hit to be called an abusive husband. How many times were called an abusive husband? I never hear her. I never say, what? Yeah, he says, as long as he continues to comment and criticizes, her life isn't worth living. I don't want to live. I don't want to live. Why? He's good, but I'm not hearing her. I'm not. Vacations, everything is good. You're on vacation. You're the blah, blah, blah. Sweetie, you know, I think it's a what? Boom, that's it. The whole $10,000 vacation is zero. You are zero. But why? We came to where you wanted to come to. Yeah? He says experience shows that women who are subjected to comments and criticism suffer extreme emotional anguish to the point of shattered nerves and total breakdown. They hate their husbands and whatever he stands for. If a husband criticizes in the name of Torah, the wife will hate the husband and the Torah. Even Hashem, God forbid. She's liable to take off her hair covering and throw away religion altogether, even to search chas v'shalom for forbidden relations. That's what he says.
What is it saying exactly?
Yes.
Forbidden relation.
He says that because, he, tzaddik, gets up in the morning, tu tefillin, he teaches, he does this, that, and he criticizes her. So she's thinking it's that Torah that make him evil. And therefore she hates Judaism. And she's going to take off her hair covering, becoming natzniut, and to the point that she's going to, and if he continues, she's going to look to go do a sin. You understand? He says, now that we know what happens to a wife when her husband makes remarks or criticizes her, let's ask the husband, do you still think you can change your wife with your comments and criticisms? Do you still ask yourself, how will she change? Are you still prepared to risk destroying your life, her life, and your children's life with your criticism?
Now, let's stop here.
Yes.
How many people, okay, do not follow this book?
Oh.